DP begins with Jun Ho enlisting in the military for mandatory service. While he stands, taking harsh treatment from his commanding officer, he ends up being pushed backward onto a nail sticking out of the wall. This surprising moment quickly cuts to a day before Jun Ho's enlistment. At that time, Jun Ho had been working as a delivery driver, but his boss received a complaint from a customer, giving him a reason to withhold Jun Ho's pay. Already behind on Jun Ho's overdue wages, his boss was using any excuse to avoid payment, but Jun Ho responded by threatening to report him for violating labor laws. In the military, he finds himself among a group of new recruits who are forced to go through 5 weeks of military hardships. During this basic training, the group is assigned to different units and given various tasks. On day 601, a soldier named Sukbong gets knocked down and is reminded that he is a first-class private who needs to shape up. When he is pushed again, the earlier scene with the nail makes more sense. This is the same bunk area where each recruit is required to stand and take the officer's blow. When Jun Ho's turn comes, he narrowly avoids the hit, a good thing considering the strength of the push. Jun Ho is part of Platoon 3 and is assigned to the military police. During a moment when his officer reads his letters aloud, Jun Ho asks him to stop. Just before the situation can escalate, Sergeant Park appears and breaks it up. In fact, the sergeant requests that Jun Ho attend an interview. Jun Ho's strong attention to detail is noticed, and as a result, he is offered a role in the DP, Deserter Pursuit, unit, responsible for tracking down deserters and bringing them back to the military. In his first mission, Jun Ho teams up with Sungwoo to locate a deserter named Woo-suk. Sungwoo doesn't seem in any hurry, and Jun Ho's awkwardness only adds to their difficulties. They end up drinking heavily and singing karaoke at a local bar, but when Jun Ho steps outside to throw up and have a cigarette, a boy asks him for a lighter. Thinking nothing of it, Jun Ho hands it over. However, later that night, Jun Ho receives a furious call from his superior, informing him that Shin Woo-suk has taken his own life and that the lighter he used is the very same one Jun Ho handed over. Sungwoo and Jun Ho are forced to face the consequences, with Jun Ho feeling a strong sense of guilt. When Sergeant Park gives the lighter to Jun Ho, his emotions boil over, and he attacks Sungwoo in a fit of rage. At the military hospital, Corporal Han is suddenly called back to his unit, and of all times, it happens right in the middle of a shower. Now, with 596 days left until Jun Ho's discharge, things are starting to heat up. Captain Lim has just joined the team, and Sergeant Park has been assigned to show him the ropes. In the meantime, the officers decide to increase the training intensity by adding mountain runs to their routine. However, there's a bigger issue at play. Jun Ho is currently behind bars for lashing out at a superior officer, an act that doesn't sit well in this environment. Fortunately, his old friends are looking out for him, and Captain Lim makes the decision to let Jun Ho stay while dismissing the superior officer, Sungwoo, instead. Sergeant Park delivers the news to Jun Ho, but he is still grappling with the recent loss of Woo-suk. After being released and returning to his bunk, Sergeant Huang continues to bully him, until Corporal Han walks in, looking fresh-faced and ready to help. Han has a laid-back and easygoing vibe that feels like a breath of fresh air. Just as things seem to be settling down, the team receives another case. They need to track down a boy named Choi Junmook, who was last seen 2 months ago at Incheon Station. Han approaches this new case with an unconventional mindset. He reasons that if Junmook, the deserter, isn't thinking rationally, then neither should they. So, he suggests they retrace Junmook's steps by putting themselves in his shoes. They begin following a lead from Junmook's journal, which mentions a woman named Haijong. The journal proves to be a crucial tool, helping them piece together Junmook's whereabouts. 12 days into their search, Sergeant Park's patience starts to wear thin. However, Jun Ho's keen observation skills reveal that Junmook has been moving only at night. It turns out that Junmook leads a bit of a vampire lifestyle, falling asleep at random times. Thanks to Jun Ho's quick thinking, they finally manage to bring Junmook back. But even after the mission concludes, Jun Ho remains haunted by memories from his past. Jun Ho and Han receive praise for their efforts in the DP department, having successfully captured 7 deserters. As a reward for their hard work, they are granted some time off to enjoy their well-deserved leave. However, just as they begin to savor their newfound freedom, a phone call interrupts their plans, sending them off to Busan. They are assigned to assist another DP unit, but this mission doesn't seem straightforward. Their new target is a young man who is quite intimidating. At a fancy hotel, Jun Ho and Han meet Captain Kim, who briefs them on their target, Min. The last update they received indicated that Min was holed up at his father's house. It soon becomes clear that Min is not in a stable state of mind. The pressures of military life have taken a toll on him, causing him to flee when Jun Ho and Han come looking for him. During the chase that follows, Han suffers a severe back injury. After hearing the report, Sergeant Park faces the wrath of his captain. Unfortunately for them, Sergeant Park makes it clear that they won't be allowed to return until they catch Min. Eventually, the pair finds themselves at a karaoke bar, where they attract the attention of a group of women associated with Young, Min's girlfriend. Young quickly takes an interest in Jun Ho, encouraging him to join her for some food. Young is trapped in an abusive relationship with Min, who mistreats her and constantly asks for money. She has been manipulated by Min, but her situation provides the DP boys with a valuable lead. They decide to use Young to help capture Min, but doing so requires them to come up with 3 million won to pay off her debts and free her from his control. Jun Ho feels a strong connection to Young, relating her plight to his past. She promises to repay him and agrees to their plan. Down by the docks, Min is cornered, but it takes Jun Ho leaping in and striking him across the face to finally subdue him. Jun Ho's boxing experience proves useful as the officers work together to bring Min down. However, just when things seem to have gone their way, a surprising twist reveals that Young has actually taken off with the real money. The cash they found at the docks turns out to be fake, just gift certificates. As Jun Ho and Han return to the base, Captain Lim informs them that they have exhausted their entire leave while in Busan. Sergeant Park then arrives with urgent news, revealing that Jun Ho's father has collapsed back home. Jun Ho makes his way to the hospital to visit his father. From earlier flashbacks, it's clear that his father has a history of abuse towards Jun Ho's mother. The tension is palpable as his father is not exactly pleased to see him, and Jun Ho shares this sentiment. In fact, Jun Ho tells him that the day his father dies will be the day he finally laughs out loud. Jun Ho then heads home, where he unexpectedly finds Corporal Han enjoying barbecue with his family. Before they leave, Jun Ho speaks with his mother about the abuse she has endured. He urges her to leave, but she stands firm in her refusal, making it clear that the cycle of violence is unlikely to end anytime soon. Back at the barracks, Junmook continues to sink deeper into a depressive state. His mother confronts Captain Lim about the hypocrisy of sending Junmook to protect the country while allowing him to remain unprotected from bullies. The situation has worsened as those bullies have just been reassigned without any consequences. Captain Lim expresses his concerns to the commander, but the commander dismisses his worries. The next day, another deserter comes into focus. This time, it's a man who has jumped over the fence late at night and fled down the steep mountain. This deserter is Chi-do, a member of a lucrative squad that trains in dangerous rappelling techniques. He injured his arm during the escape. The pay for the work was good, and additionally, Chi-do was known for being a gambler. Jun Ho and Han set out to find Chi-do. Similar to previous cases, the pair finds themselves racing through the dorms, only to accidentally stumble into the girls' section, sparking controversy and a complaint to head office. Meanwhile, Sergeant Huang is just 5 days away from discharge. However, the abuse Sungbok has endured at his hands has left him changed, cold and relentless, taking out his frustrations on new recruits. Unfortunately, he still finds himself under the brutal treatment of Sergeant Huang. Jun Ho and Han begin to understand why many recruits are deserting the barracks. Nevertheless, the duo remains committed to bringing Chi-do back, as it is part of their assignment. Narrowing down Chi-do's possible locations, they use their wits to track him down. It becomes evident that Chi-do had been desperate to raise funds for his grandmother's care before she passed away, which explains his willingness to take such drastic measures. This scenario is imbued with an uncomfortable poignancy, revealing the sacrifices these men make during their mandatory military training. Feeling a personal connection to this case, Jun Ho decides to reach out to his mother later to check on her well-being. Later he receives shocking news: Sukbong has deserted the army. After having endured relentless abuse, Sukbong attacked the bully. With a helmet in his hand, he repeatedly smashed it against the bully, leaving him in a bloody mess before he walked away. The commander decides to conduct a full-scale search for Sukbong but insists that it must be done quietly. He is desperate to keep the press uninformed, so it falls to Captain Lim and Sergeant Park to rely once again on our DP duo to bring the Sukbong back. While Jun Ho stays behind to question the soldier that Sukbong beat up, Sergeant Park and Han set off to talk to Sukbong's friend. However, things take a darker turn when Sukbong uploads a new webtoon file online. The content is grim and serves as a foreboding glimpse into his intentions. Armed with a knife, rope, and a deep desire for revenge, Sukbong plans to confront Sergeant Huang, the one who hazed him mercilessly. Time is running out, prompting the Busan DP team to step in and help track the boy down to prevent a potential murder. Jun Ho manages to catch up with Sukbong, but during their skirmish outside the bus, one of the Busan team members gets hit by a bus. Later, Han chases after Sukbong to a movie theater, where Sukbong pulls a knife on Han and demands he freeze. Jun Ho then finds Huang and attempts to convince him to leave. He warns Huang about Sukbong's threat, but Huang scoffs at the warning and shuts the door in Jun Ho's face. After Sukbong tasers Jun Ho and handcuffs him to the railing, he seems set to exact his revenge on Huang. Although Huang initially gains the upper hand against Sukbong, he appears visibly shaken. Sukbong takes notice and, after slashing Huang with a knife, he rushes away, laughing hysterically. Jun Ho and Han soon find Sukbong downstairs and manage to apprehend him, putting him in handcuffs. As Sukbong is taken back in handcuffs, Sergeant Park speaks to him about the nature of revenge. His words strike a chord within Sukbong, who lashes out at everyone for their indifference toward the abuse and bullying that occurred in the dorm. He is furious about being punished for his actions and somehow manages to break free. Sukbong's angry outburst results in a crash inside a tunnel. While he manages to escape the wreck, Sergeant Park is left bleeding from the head, and Jun Ho lies unconscious. Sukbong quickly returns to confront Huang. The commander launches a special duty team ready for action. The officers are equipped with live ammunition, packed onto trucks and prepared to move out. However, Captain Lim expresses concerns about the commander's aggressive approach, believing it is overly excessive for the situation. So, he decides to team up with Sergeant Park, who has recovered from his injuries and is completely fine. Sergeant Park and the DP duo sets out to locate him. But time is definitely against them. Meanwhile, Huang wakes up in the tunnels to find Sukbong standing over him. Sukbong plans to make Huang suffer, but his intentions are interrupted when two detectives arrive, investigating the situation. After a brief struggle, Sukbong is beaten down, but Jun Ho intervenes to stop the detective. Outside the tunnels, Sergeant Park clashes with the commander, asking him to reconsider his approach. Although Sergeant Park manages to get the men to stand down, the situation inside the tunnels takes a dark turn. Sukbong seizes the detective's gun and rushes off to finish what he started with Huang. Soon after, a bloodied Huang drops to his knees, begging Sukbong for forgiveness. Just as Sukbong seems ready to pull the trigger, Han steps in, trying to defuse the situation. He informs Sukbong that the military police are on their way and implores him to stop. Han also suggests a full-scale investigation into the unit. In a fit of frustration, Sukbong fires the gun into the roof of the tunnel and the military police rush in to intervene. However, Jun Ho arrives first and reveals to Sukbong that CNA got into college, hoping this news will pull him back from the edge. Unfortunately, the military police surround Sukbong, leaving him with no escape. Feeling trapped, Sukbong concludes that the only way to change his situation is to take his own life. He sees himself as a martyr of sorts and shoots himself. In the aftermath of Sukbong's death, Sergeant Park faces disciplinary action, and Captain Lim is transferred from the unit. Jun Ho speaks with the sister of the first deserter who committed suicide. She makes an emotional plea, questioning why he didn't do anything to help. This interaction seems to strike a chord with Jun Ho. Still shaken by the events, Jun Ho walks away from his commanding officer, choosing a different path than the other soldiers. Later, a news report covers the tragic events surrounding Sukbong. Another soldier faces bullying in the dormitory. Armed with a gun, he unleashes a devastating volley of bullets. And with this, the first season of the drama comes to an end.